Have you ever noticed how clearly you can think, yet the moment you speak, your words seem to lose their weight and people brush them aside? For a long time, I believed respect was something you had to fight for. I thought if you didn't defend every sentence, if you didn't push harder and speak louder, you would simply be ignored. Then one day, during a tense discussion, I did exactly that. I raised my voice. The room went quiet, not because I had earned respect, but because everyone was waiting for me to finish. That moment taught me something I never forgot. True authority does not come from volume. It comes from presence. It comes from restraint. It comes from choosing words so carefully that they cannot be dismissed. You don't gain respect by speaking louder. You gain it by speaking clearer. When clarity replaces noise, people begin to treat you differently. At work, at home, and even in the smallest interactions. Today, I want to share 5 phrases. Simple sentences that carry calm strength. Words that allow you to command respect without raising your voice. Stay until the end, because the third phrase changed the way I handle conflict forever. Epictetus reminded us that events themselves are neutral. What matters is how we respond. The Stoics believed self-control was the highest form of power. When you govern your words, you govern the entire situation. I didn't learn this easily. I've spoken too fast. I've let emotion lead my tongue, and I've regretted it more times than I can count. But over time, a pattern became impossible to ignore. Whenever I spoke from emotion, I lost respect. Whenever I spoke from reason, I gained it. The difference between those moments was small. Just a brief pause before I spoke. That pause is the heart of Stoic wisdom. Let's begin. The first phrase is this. I understand your point, but I disagree. I remember the first time I said it. I was dealing with someone who dominated every conversation. In the past, I would argue, defend myself, and leave exhausted. That day, I listened. I paused. Then I spoke calmly. I understand your point, but I disagree. The room shifted, not because I proved anything, but because I showed control. This sentence communicates 3 things at once. You are listening, you are calm, and you are not available for pressure. In Stoic philosophy, this is the separation of judgment from emotion. You respond instead of reacting. You don't chase victory. You stand firm. By acknowledging the other person, you remove their need to overpower you. By stating disagreement without hostility, you affirm independence. It sounds gentle, but it feels unshakable. The second phrase is this. I don't find that appropriate. I learned this one through regret. There was a time I stayed silent when someone crossed a line toward a colleague. I told myself I was avoiding conflict, but silence often sounds like agreement. That silence stayed with me longer than the comment itself. From that moment on, I made a promise to myself. I would protect dignity, my own and others, without anger. The next time it happened, I spoke calmly. I don't find that appropriate. No explanation, no lecture, just clarity. Seneca wrote that self-respect invites respect from others. This phrase draws a boundary without raising walls. You don't justify discomfort. You state a standard. When spoken with calm conviction, people adjust their tone. They sense you know your worth. The third phrase changed my life. Let's talk when we can do so respectfully. Years ago, I was in a heated argument with someone close to me. Emotions were high. Words were sharp. I felt the urge to win the moment. But instead, I stopped. I breathed, and I said those words. Then I walked away. It wasn't easy. My ego wanted the last word. But that silence became one of the strongest moments of my life. Because walking away is not weakness. It is discipline. Epictetus taught that while we cannot control others, we always control our response. This phrase does not avoid conflict. It governs it. It shifts attention from accusation to behavior. It makes respect the condition for conversation. The fourth phrase is quieter. I prefer not to continue this conversation. There are moments when silence is more refined than argument. I learned this after years of trying to convince people who never intended to understand. One day, during a pointless exchange, I said those words and stepped away. The calm that followed was unmistakable. For the first time, I understood something clearly. I owed no one my emotional energy. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best response to harm is to be unlike the one who causes it. This phrase embodies that wisdom. You don't reject the person. You reject the disorder. When people realize your attention is not guaranteed, they begin to value it. The fifth phrase brings balance. That's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it. This is the phrase I use most today. There was a time when I bent my beliefs to keep the peace. I thought agreement was kindness, but it only made me invisible. One day, during a discussion about something important to me, I chose differently. I acknowledged the other view, and I held my own. The response surprised me. Not resistance, but respect. Calm rooted in confidence is unmistakable. Seneca believed that living according to reason is living in freedom. This phrase is freedom expressed in words. You recognize the other person. That is empathy. You affirm yourself. That is strength. Now you know the 5 phrases that command respect without shouting. They're not tricks. They are expressions of self-mastery. They change how others see you. More importantly, they change how you see yourself. In a world addicted to noise, calm is revolutionary. Respect is not demanded. It is inspired, and it begins with how you choose your words, your tone, and your silence. The next time someone provokes you, remember this. A storm cannot move a mountain. You do not need to shout to be strong. You only need to remain steady, clear, and grounded. If you want to develop this kind of calm authority, this is what we build at Epicta. Here, philosophy becomes practice, and wisdom becomes habit. Subscribe, and begin shaping a presence that speaks before you ever raise your voice.